explain multiplication using arrays?
I can explain multiplication using arrays.
I can explain patterns in a multiplication table.
I can explain patterns in a multiplication table.
Oh, this one's kind of tricky. Let's break it down a little bit. I can compare the area that I determined.
I can compare the area that I determined
By counting squares in an array.
by counting squares in an array
To the area I determined.
to the area I determined
By multiplying the side lengths.
by multiplying the side length.
Okay, and this is going to make a lot more sense in just a second. So the other day we talked about, we used groups of something to talk about patterns and repeated addition. So if I have one set of markers, River, how many markers do I have in here? 10. So what am I adding over and over again, Aubrey?
10.
10. So hey, let's practice very quickly counting by tens. Ready?
10, 20, 30, 40, 50,
Stop.
60.
Great. So we talked about this, but so I'm talking about groups of something. Groups of something. Is there another way I could look at this? Is there another way? Let's think back to topic 1. And let's think back to some words, some vocabulary up here. Is there another way I can think about multiplication rather than using groups of something? What do you think, Aubrey? Area, okay. So what exactly could I use for area?
Numbers.
Okay, numbers. And what else? Oh, what else? What is it, Deacon?
Array.
Ooh, perfect. What if I looked at this as an array? Okay, I have one box. So one group of how many?
10.
Okay, but hey, what if I had one box here and one box here? How many rows would I have?
20.
Well, hold on. Listen to my question. 2 rows. So I can have 2 rows,
And then
10 in each. Interesting. So guys, if I look here. Okay, Ashton, what do you see on the board?
5 markers.
5 markers. And how many groups, Alana?
Do you mean like how color?
Well, how many groups?
3.
Try again. Just like this, if I had. Yeah. 1 group. So this is just what? 1 group of how many, Cashin?
4.
It's coming in.
5.
5. Great. 1 group of 5. So this could also represent 1 row of 5. So if we are going to look at different things, let's look at some counters here. Okay, so we're going to look at groups of something just like we would look at an array. So you're going to get some counters, guys, and we're going to create
An array.
We're going to create an array using, so we have, up here, we have 1 group of 5. So 1 row of 5. So on your desk, if you took 10 counters and made groups of 5, see how many rows you could get. So take 10 counters, lay them on your desk. Okay. Lay them on your desk. Count 10 counters. Now, I want you to put them in an array, 2 rows. Okay. Ooh, I see some creativity here. I like it. The markers! 2 groups of 5. Interesting. So now, what if I said, okay,
like these are the markers. Yeah.
Okay. So what if you added another row? Add another row, see what happens.
Add another row.
Add another row.
Another row.
Add another row. Share with your partner. Good job, Holly. Add another row to that. Okay, great. Add one more row. Okay, yes. I see it. I see our brains working. I love it. Oh, you know the answer. Okay, pause.
You can count by threes.
Huh. Okay, guys, I'm hearing some things. So I heard that we could count by threes. Could we do that?
Yeah. Count by five.
Oh, we could count by fives. And why is that, Audrey?
Because you said us a couple of minutes ago to make 10. So 5 plus 5 is 10.
Okay.
And you told us to add another row, so that means it's another row of 5. And you count down, and if you count the other way, it's 3s. And 5s are way easier because like most people know 5.
Okay.
And some people it's difficult.
Okay.
With 3s.
I love it. So yes, you made a great point. We just added another row of 5. You know what? This chart looks so familiar. We have worked with a chart just like this on a previous lesson. So let's look here. Everyone put your finger here so I know you're with me. On your chart, perfect. So we're gonna do the exact same thing that we just did, and we are going to, okay. We talked about a group of 5 markers. So our item was a group of 5 markers. So on your paper, you're going to say group of, hold on one second, of 5 markers.
We have to write this down.
Yes, please put this on your paper on activates. Because we want to know what you are counting with. We want to know how many you have in each group.
Seconds. Or you could say 3 times 5.
We could say 3 times 5. Okay.
5 times 3.
Or 5 times 3. I like it. Let's keep this locked in our brains for just a second. I love it. So, when I have one group, or if I have one row of 5 counters, make that on your desk. One row of 5 counters. So one row of 5 counters, you get 5. Now on your desks, make 2 rows of 5 counters in each row. One row of 5, I had 5 altogether. Now when I have 2 rows of 2 rows of 5, I have 10 altogether. Now guys, create a 3rd row.
And then if we
Just like we did previously, a 3rd row in your array.
And then if we do a 3rd row, it'll be 10 plus 5.
Okay, lock it there. I love it. Lock it there.
I don't have it today.
It's okay. We can borrow, or you can also. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So, Claire, what do I get now?
15.
15. Hey, what am I noticing up here? Eden, what am I noticing with my numbers?
It goes 5, and then it goes 0, and then it goes 5.
Okay, so she's coming up with a pattern in my ones place. I like that.
We're
So,
counting by 10.
5, 10, 15. Now, if you need to share with a partner, that's okay. But let's go ahead and create a 4th row in your array. 4th row of 5.
I don't have enough.
If you do not have enough, that's okay. Share with a partner. I like it. Shh, shh, shh. It's okay. Perfect. Perfect. Yes, just like that. Great. Holly, wonderful job. So, Holly, now, what do you notice here? What did you just create? Okay, so she's got an array. How much? What's your total? If you have 4 rows, how many counters do you have? How did you know that? By multiplying 5? I love it. Or by counting by 5, repeated addition. Perfect. So guys, Parker, if I were to make a 5th row, how many would I have? 25. How'd you know that? Perfect. You're just adding 5 each time. So with Eden's pattern that she found earlier of 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, is that still correct?
We're counting by 5.
We're counting by 5s. So
30, 35, 40,
so we can, okay, we can relate the groups of something, Charlie, to an array. Huh, it's the same thing. The same numbers. Interesting. So guys, if I had 6 rows of 5.
Because it's like almost times, but it's plus.
It's just repeat addition.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so if I had 6 rows of 5, what would come next? Guess, what would come next? So if I had 25 for 5 rows, what's 5 more? Yeah, then what else? Yeah, count as a 5. Yeah. Okay, so then I have 30. So guys, as a class, let's see if we can fill out the rest of this pattern. I'm going to start over and I want to hear you counting with me by 5s. We're using repeated addition to talk about our arrays we just created. Ready? I want to hear you. 5,
10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50.
Stop. Okay. So if I had enough counters to create 10 rows, 10 rows of 5, likely what would I get? Look up there. If I had enough counters to create 10 rows of 5, what would my 50? Huh.
I just answered before you could finish.
You just answered before I could finish because it's in your brain. I love it. So, great guys. What have we noticed here? Raise your hand if you can tell me. What are some things that we have noticed here? River?
A lot of patterns.
We have noticed a lot of patterns. Like when we're working with 5, we can just add 5. Or a 5, 0, 5. I love that. That is interesting. So guys, on your activates, I want you to make sure that you have this down. Because we can relate groups of something to arrays. And that's what we just did. We used some different vocabulary to talk about the same things that we already know.
One thing that I noticed is that you can do 5 times 1, 5. That. Yeah.
Okay. So what else could you do with that?
Oh, I know.
But tell me, I think you're on something.
I got one.
What else could you say? Ooh, I see our brains working. It's okay. We're gonna find a friend. Aubrey, tell me.
You could do 1 times 5 equals 5.
Okay.
And then you can do 0 times 5 equals 0.
Okay, because we would have nothing. Okay.
Because you can
Interesting.
do 5, 0, 5, 0. I got one.
Oh, because we're sticking with the pattern. I love it. I love it. Now, guys, we're going to keep that locked in our brain as we move on. I love that you're with me. Let's go ahead and put our hands down. I love it. Great working. Okay, great working, guys. Okay, so this is what we've talked about too. So if we had 3 groups of 5, we could have just said 3 rows with 5 in each. 4 groups of 5, 4 rows with 5 in each, and this is what we just saw. Okay. Okay, so think about this. Think about the equal groups in the array. Let's look here. So Brooke, do I have? Come here.
6.
How many rows do I have?
4.
4. Great. Now, how many do I have in each row, or how many columns do I have, Holly? How many columns do I have, or in each row? 6. So I have 4 rows of 6. A lot of this could also mean 4 groups of 6.
It would be like 4 in each.
All right, guys, so we're going to continue with this, but we're going to look at some other array cards or slides, okay? So, but before we do this, let's do a little cleanup. All right, so you guys have all of your counters sitting there. And you did pretty well. We talked a little bit earlier about tools and toys, and you did pretty well with them. So right now, we're going to put our tools away. So here's what I'd like you to do. If you could just put them in a nice neat pile up in the corner of your desk, Mrs. Elkins will come by and she'll pick those up while we're looking at some other array cards, okay?
Okay, guys,
Right,
while
so
I'm
real
picking
quick.
them up, look towards the front, please.
Good job following directions. All right, so as you're pushing those up in the corner, that's all it's going to take is a push up in the corner, and then your eyes are back up here on me. We are going to look at some arrays like this one, but you're only going to get to see it for about 3 to 5 seconds. That's not very long. So what's going to be important about our eyes?
We have to pay attention.
Oh yeah, we're going to have to be really focused and pay attention because it's going to be there and then it's not going to be there. All right? I want you, when you see these arrays, I want you to think about what we just did. Because I'm going to ask you, after you've thought by yourself for a couple seconds, I'm going to ask you how many rows you saw, how many columns you saw, how many dots or counters, because they're like counters that you saw. And then I'm going to ask you to tell me about how you saw them, what strategy you used, okay? All right, so you've already had a bunch of time to look at this one, right?
Yeah.
So this is quiet thinking time. I'm going to take it away. I want you to think about what we just talked about. Rows, columns, total, and then strategy. All right, so let's talk about it. Who can tell me how many rows? How many rows did you see? 2 rows. You guys agree? 2 rows? Okay. How many columns do we have here? Claire? 3. So 2 rows and 3 columns. So in total, everybody tell me, in total, we see 6, right?
We can count by 2.
We could count by 2s.
Or 3.
We could count by
Or
3.
sixes.
So let's go back. If I counted by 2s, am I looking at rows or columns?
Rows. Columns.
Remember, show me columns with your arm. Show me row with your arm. Right?
Great.
Okay, so you're right. If I count by 2s, I'm counting columns. If I'm seeing 3s, I'm seeing rows. Okay, so if I was going to make an equation that would tell me how many total, let's think about it. What kind of equation could I make for the total? Okay.
2 times 3.
Ooh, so we could have 2 columns or 2 rows times 3 columns, and that would give us
It would give us
a total of.
6. And
Good
I
job.
have another one.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna let someone else, but hold your thought. What else? Aubrey?
3 times 3.
Or, so if we saw the columns, 3 times 2, we could also get to 6. Is there another equation that we could use? You gave me 2 multiplications. Is there another one that we could use? Okay.
3 plus 3.
Ooh, so 3 plus 3 would also give us 6. And I think there's one more we can probably come up with. Yes, ma'am.
2 plus 2 plus 2.
So you're seeing, what are you seeing, rows or columns? columns. 2 plus 2 plus 2. All of those would equal 6. I'm going to show you a new array. You're going to look at it. Remember, 3 to 5 seconds.
Fast.
I'm going to take it away. You're going to think independently, and then we're going to talk about it. Are you ready? Ooh. Okay, why don't we do this? Turn to a neighbor and tell your neighbor.
Okay, turn to your partner and talk to
Yep,
them.
Partner, how about, would you mind just right here for a little bit?
What did you just
What did you see?
Explain to your partner what you just saw on the board.
How many would that be?
So is that what you saw? So they saw 4. Let's see. 6. We'll talk about that. Talk about how many that would be.
Okay. What did you all see?
All right, let's see how you did.
Oh,
I
I
really
got to the
appreciated
board.
some of the conversation that I heard there. Let's take a peek and see.
Oh.
So how did you and your partner do? Give me a thumbs up if you saw 2 rows and help me, how many columns?
5.
5 columns. So in total, you can all tell me, what do we have?
10.
10. And if we were going to write an equation that represented this array, what would one of those equations, what might be one of those equations?
2 times 5.
2 times 5? What's another one we could do? 2 times 5. Parker? 5 plus 5? Could be 5 plus 5.
Okay.
Good.
11 minus 1.
Ooh. Oh. So if we weren't seeing equal groups, we could use that equation. But since we're focusing on equal groups, let's stick to equations with equal groups. Okay, one more. Oh, so listen carefully. If we're looking at equal groups, yes, ma'am.
2 plus 2 plus
Yep.
2 plus
2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, right? All right, so you get it. We're going to do another one. Are you ready? So same thing. You're going to see it. We're going to look at it very closely. I'm going to challenge some of you because last time I noticed I didn't see some of your eyes locked in. So I'm going to have you look up here real quick. Eyes locked in. 3 to 5 seconds. That's all you got. Ready? So eyes up here. Here it comes. Individual thinking.
Oh, wait.
Individual.
Think in your brain.
Individual first.
Hold on. Hands down. Hands down. Think about it.
I've seen some of you closing your eyes. I love that because you're trying to see it.
Hold on. Think about it first. Think about it first.
Right now that you think you know, I want you to turn to that neighbor again. Or neighbors.
Turn to your neighbor. Scoot over here.
Let her in.
Yes, there we go. What do you all see? I want to hear it.
I like that some of you are using the word array because we know that that's what this is called. That's a math word, right? And we need to be using it. So I heard a few different things. I'm wondering how we did. Let's take another look. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. How many rows? 4. You can all tell me. 4 rows. So show me again which way do rows go?
Rows.
So 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many columns? 4 columns. Go straight up and down. You say 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 rows, 4 columns. So in total, tell me how many? You can tell me.
16.
16. How did you guys do? Did you do well on that?
Yes, we can count by fours.
You could count by 4s.
Or we
But
can
let's pause for a second. How else? We could easily count by 4s. We started doing that a long time ago, really, right? We could say 4, 8, 12, 16. But since we've been thinking more of groups, we have learned, or we're learning, that there might be a more efficient way for us to determine how many. What might we do? What strategy might we use besides counting by 4s? What strategy? I can see you guys thinking.
Think about it.
Here's what I want you to do. In your group, so some of you it's 3, some of you are 4, some of you it's 2. I want you to each tell, everybody give your thought to the group. How else might you figure out the total number? Okay, so would 4 plus 4 be counting by 4s, kind of? So you guys will look at another way. So you agree with Victoria, and I see she has 4 times 4 right there. So you agree with that? Well, which one do you think would be more efficient? Other way, might we determine how many in total? We talked about counting, so 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, or 4, 8, 12, 16. But what is another way that back here we determined was more efficient, which meant it got there faster, it got us there faster and easier? What is that other way? Yes, ma'am.
8 plus 8.
Well, let me think. 8 plus 8 does get us there a little faster, doesn't it? I like that. So we could see 8 and 8, so that is another way. I wonder if there's an even more efficient way. Do you have a way? I'm sorry, sweetie. Okay, let's think. I haven't heard from this table.
Okay, but I think we were on to something over here. So I think that we could tell another equation.
I know my friend Blake over here earlier, he said something, and I want you to listen to what he said. I'm going to repeat what he said, and I want you to think about what he meant by it. Well, Blake, can you tell? You said it was 4 by 4.
Ooh.
That's what he told me. He says 4 by 4.
Like what?
And I said, can you tell me more? 4 what? By 4 what? Right? So think for a minute. What does he mean by 4 by 4?
4 plus
4 by 4.
Lock it in your
What do
brain
you-
for a second.
What do
Lock
you
it in your
think?
brain.
We're thinking here. What do you think he means 4 by 4? 4 what?
So 4 rows and 4 columns.
Blake, is that what you meant? 4 rows and 4 columns? You got it. That's some good thinking. So if we know that 4 rows and 4 columns, 4 by 4, we can think 4. What operation would we put in there? 4 times 4. Oh, you guys are so good. All right, so here's what we're going to do. On your desk, you have your pages that have already been pulled out of your student resource book. Yep, we're on the back of your Activate on page 54. So very quickly, go down to the bottom right corner of your page and make sure that you are on page 54. What's your bottom
54.
left? Your bottom left.
Flip the page over. You're on 54.
Okay, guys. This is going to be some partner time. All right? So this is a challenge sometimes for us.
Can we do partner?
It's hard to stay focused sometimes when we have a partner. So I'm going to challenge you as a partner, as a good partner. I want you to try to keep your partner on task. Can you do that?
Yep.
Yeah. So if your partner starts to tell you about something cool that happened, you're like, hey man, later, because right now
That's
it's
right.
what?
Work
It's
time.
nap time.
time, yes.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. You and your partner are going to do the problems 1 through 14. Okay, so there's several of them. 1 through 14. It's okay if you don't get all the way. we'll get as far as we can get. We took the counters, right? If you decide that you and your partner or one of you really needs those counters to help you, I want you to try without them, but if you need them, then you know that you can just let Mrs. Elkins or I know, and we'll make sure you get what you need, okay? But with your partner, you're going to figure out how will you determine.
Is it going to be 3 partners in each group?
It can be 3, or if we need to, we can partner you up over here.
There's dojo partners.
There's dojo partners. Yeah. I think for now we'll just kind of stick with what our proximity, who we're the closest.
So
to,
you're just
okay?
going to turn to the person next to you. So you two will work together. You two, whoever is right beside you, that's going to be your partner. You all are going to work in a group of 3. Okay.
So I want you to notice, guys, in the first 4, it's helping you out a little bit more. Do you notice on the first 4?
She's already finished.
Are you looking at the first 4? Eyes right here. Come back to me. On the first 4, they're helping you out a little bit. They're telling you exactly what you're looking for. After that, they kind of take away that little help. But by then, I think you'll have the pattern down, because remember, we're looking at what? What 2 things? Rows and columns. All right, are you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you feel ready. All right, if you have questions, we're going to be around, and go ahead and get started with your partner. Or partners. 54, 50.
So I love that. Explain to him how you knew that. How did you know? See, look here, you saw 1. Perfect. Well, let's try again. Look. What is it? 1 row.
I was telling them that. I was like,
This row, column.
So tell me what you're saying.
So rows go this way.
1 more minute. And I really like, let me see you for a minute. Oh, class.
Yes.
Look to the front, please.
I really like that I'm hearing some really good conversations about how you're counting these. Some of you are counting by sets, groups. Some of you are counting smaller groups. Some of you are counting bigger groups. And some of you are zooming along, recognizing that if I have, I'll just make one up, 4 rows with 6 columns. Some of you know that. 4 rows by 6 columns would be.
I see some brains working.
What would 4 rows?
18.
You're very close. Keep thinking. That's a big one. 4 rows and 6 columns. Some of you are working up to knowing what that multiplication equation is. And that's what we're practicing right now.
Good
24.
job. I saw your brain
All
working.
right, so here's what I love. I love that some of you are counting each one, and you have friends that are saying, hey, instead of counting each one, maybe we could count by 3s, or maybe we could count by 6, like depending on the rows and the columns. So that's exactly what we want to be doing right now. So I'm going to give you 1 more minute, get as far as you can on this, and then we're going to move on to another activity, okay? So work hard. Okay, very focused. 1 minute, your partner.
Great.
All right. Yes, I love it. Keep working. Great. Okay. What if I knew how many were in the rows?
Did you watch
But I didn't know how many were in the columns.
Check across the table.
But I knew that I got it. So for example,
you could do 2, 4, 6, 8 instead of doing 4, 8.
so what is this one? I knew there were 4 rows.
Not on the reflect yet. We're not there yet.
But I knew there were 8. Could I figure it out? How could I figure it out?
Because 4 plus 4 is 8. Yeah.
But if this is multiplication, then I would know.
Right?
So that's what we're going to go with this. You're going to start seeing how.
Right. Now, talk to your partner and figure out what is it. What's the product for that? Oh, perfect.
All right, so we're gonna stop right where we're at. So pencils down, eyes up here.
Pencils down, eyes up here.
We're going to look specifically at number 4. So look down at your page, find which page it's on, number 4. I want you to put your finger on it. Find number 4. Find number 4 and put your finger on it.
Great.
Can you find number 4 and put your finger on it? All right, now I'm going to use some math words, so I want you to listen closely while you're looking at number 4.
4, find 4. Right there, great.
Guys, how did we determine the product in number 4? How did we determine the product in number 4? So first thing is, what is a product, right? Product. So maybe we should talk about that. If I have an equation, and I'm talking about a product, what kind of equation am I using? Addition, multiplication, subtraction, or division? If my equation has a product. Multiplication, right? So in a multiplication equation, we're going to have factors and we're going to have a product. So when I say how did you determine the product in number 4? What is the product in number 4? Everybody put your finger on it and tell me, what was the product in number 4?
15.
How did you determine it? How did you determine the product in number 4? Aubrey? So Aubrey counted by 5s. Okay. So maybe you counted by 5s as well. But let's listen to see how else someone might have determined the product. How else might we have determined the product? Other than counting by 5s. Okay, ma'am, in the back.
I did a divide by. I did 15 divided by 5s, and how it's 3, so it would take it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, we definitely could look at it that way, but if we're not there yet, we're not seeing the division. We're looking at it and we're looking for the product. So if we were using division, we would have a whole other answer that's called something else, okay? But if we're looking at the product, how could we determine it?
Count by 3s.
We could count by 3s, so we're still counting by, but remember, when we're counting by things, we're usually adding, right? We're adding another group. But when we're multiplying to get a product, how are we determining what we're multiplying? I know some of you know it because you showed me. There you go. What did you do? What did you tell me you did? You said I could.
You could go 3 times 5, because you can count. On this one, you can count 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Could you come up and point to that on here? He showed me this, and I was really impressed with this. I said, that makes a lot of sense. So to determine this product, show us what you
You
did.
can go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 times 5.
So 1, 2, 3, which would be my 3 rows, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be my 5 columns. So you're telling me my rows and my columns are my factors that give me the product of 15. Oh, come on. Good thinking. Okay, if you didn't see that, that's okay. But now that you've seen it, maybe you can see it on another one. Okay, so how are we doing, guys? You good? Okay. So it's okay if we didn't get to everything here. Here's what we're going to do next. I don't know how to do this. Oh. I don't know how to do it the fast way. How's that? Okay. So right now, here's what we're going to do. You guys need to stand up for a minute.
Yes.
Great. We've been thinking hard.
Ready? Arms up, stretch it out. Woo, stretch it out. Oh!
Can you get down all the way down?
Oh, there you go. There you go. Oh, man. We're really stretching out.
All right. Get all those wiggles out.
Yes.
You guys have done great. So we're going to see our goal. Our goal is for us to see the connection between our counters that you did with your teacher, with the arrays that we just looked at, and figured out rows and columns. And this multiplication table, how many of you have used a multiplication table before? Has anyone?
Yeah, second grade, Miss Austin.
A little bit? Okay. So actually it's okay if you didn't, because it's kind of better, because we're going to look at this in a way that you know what? Mrs. Green and I hadn't even looked at it this way before. So it's pretty cool. But here's the thing, we're going to need to use some tools again. All right, so we're going to stay focused with our tools. As we begin passing those out, what you are going to be doing is waiting patiently. As soon as you get them, I'm going to give you, until we get things passed out, and then maybe 30 seconds more to get them out. If you want to spend a little time building a little tower or something, you just get that smidge of time, and then I'm going to tell you then, what am I going to say? It's tool time. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. All right, 20 seconds of toy time. Get it out. 20 seconds. Do it. Do whatever you know that you're going to want to do when you can't do it, because we got to use it as a tool. All right, 5 seconds.
I just go lay down.
What? I just got my down.
All right, and here's what we're going to do. Make a little pile, set them off to the side, because you're going to need a little desk room, because in a minute you're going to get a copy of this.
Okay, so push them to the side. It's tool time.
All right, so boys and girls, I haven't said it, well, you're right. Let me be very specific. It is now tool time. So we're going to push them up into the corner and make a space for you to put your multiplication table. All right, so we'll know you're ready when your tools are in the corner and you have an open spot on your desk to put your multiplication table. Okay. Looking for spots, open spots. Oh, I'm waiting for open spots. This is great. Over here. This group in placement, so you got the spot. Over here, bud. All right. Raise your hand if you do not have a multiplication table, because you can't do this activity without it. Got one right here, bud. Okay, make a spot for it. I've been watching for a spot. All right, so our cubes are officially our tools, and our multiplication table is officially a tool. The baggies, if they're in your way, plop them inside your desk real quick.
That's a good idea. Let's put them in our desk.
Because I know that the bag kind of blowing around, they're kind of tempting to, play with. So just put the baggies in your desk. All right, guys. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to take one of your unit cubes, and I want you to put it in the very top left corner, the first empty box.
Okay, we're using our tool.
First empty box.
Putting it in the very top left corner. Here, right there. So pick up one. Very top left. Great.
All right, so I'm looking around. There should be one unit cube on your table. It should be in the top left empty box. Look at your friends, and if they're not there yet, help them get there. Okay, so I want to see your eyes right now. Did you just build an array? Did you build an array? What are arrays made of? Remind me. An array has rows and columns. So if I have
An area.
If I have one unit cube right here, how many rows?
One.
How many columns? Okay, so here's what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing hands on your tools, but we're not doing anything with it right now. We just put one cube, right? So we're all focused on this one cube. Our hands are off our tools, and we're recognizing that when this cube is in this spot, I have made an array that has, help me out again, one row and one column. 1 equals 1. Oh, you guys are so good. You're so good. All right, so let's move forward. I want you to add a second cube into this second column in the first row. So listen carefully. We're still in the first row, but now we're in a second cube. So let's see if I can, maybe we can draw.
Okay,
So we're getting another cube.
So I've got
the first row. So we're gonna have 2 columns in that first row.
I have 2 of them. Does yours look like mine?
Yeah. It's like
Check
two
it.
little
I'm seeing some that might have 1 column and 2 rows.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
It's 2 little
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. So, what would this multiplication equation
One
be?
row and 2 columns.
What would this multiplication equation be? Think about it. Yes, ma'am.
1 row and 2 columns.
So it's 1 row, 2 columns. So the multiplication equation would be 1. What would that be? 1 times 2 equals 2. All right. Well, I forgot to do something last time, so I'm going to have you forgive me for a minute, because here's what we should have done. When we had the 1 cube there, let's do it again. When we had the 1 cube there, what's happening? I'm so not good at these things.
Here, I've got you.
Okay.
I can do it.
Okay. Okay, so we have the 1 cube there. When we said 1 times 1 is 1, what we want to do is instead of have the cube there, we're going to go ahead and write in the product. So what is it? 1 times 1 is 1. So I want you to go back and do that. Go ahead and write in
On your
product.
chart.
So the cube comes off and we're going to put in the 1. Now we just did the second one where we said 1 times 2, so what's my product? 2.
Great.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so good at this.
3.
All right,
Oh,
so as I'm
Lock it in there. I
looking,
love it. I love
as I'm
it.
looking, now you don't have cubes on your multiplication table. You have numbers, the products. So 1, 2. 1 and 2, the products. All right, guys, so we're going to keep moving on. With a partner, in a minute, you're going to get to do some of your own arrays, but I'm going to challenge you first. Right now, I want you to take your cubes and I want you to build an array that is 2 rows and 3 columns.
Ooh.
And I want you to start from the top corner like we did.
On your
So
chart.
build-
On your
build
chart.
on your multiplication table, build me an array that has 2 rows and 3 columns. Quick, quick, quick. 2 rows, 3 columns. Starting up here.
Okay.
Nice.
2 rows, 3 columns.
2 rows and 3 columns. All right, guys, so what's that multiplication?
2 times 3 equals 6.
So we've got 2 rows times 3 columns, and 2 times 3,
6.
6. Do you agree?
Yeah.
All right, so where would I write the product 6 on my multiplication table?
You're the 6th.
Yeah, so if I built my array, I'm going to put it right here where there's 2 rows and 3 columns. You see how it works?
So write your 6.
So right now we have a 1, we have a 2, and we have a 6.
So we don't need this
Yep.
extra row.
Clean that up a little bit.
So here, you're going to write a 6. So guys, make sure that you
All right,
have your
so
row.
here's what you're going to do with your partner. With your partner, you're going to make a new array. All right, so not one that we've already done, not our 1 times 1 or not our 1 times 1, not our 1 times 2, or our 1 row, 1 column, 1 row, 2 columns, or 2 rows, 3 columns. You're going to build a new one. So you're doing this with your partner. Ideally, I would like you to each be able to build the one that you like. So decide who's going to go first. Build what they want to build. Are you listening? And then, what are you going to do before you build another one, though? What are you going to need to put on your multiplication table? Oh, you're already planning, but you got to listen to the full directions.
Put the answer under the 1 cube.
So what is that answer that what do we call the answer for a multiplication? Product. Don't forget to put your product. And then let your partner say, hey, let's build this one. And then you guys build it and do it again. All right? So here we go. Partner each got to do one. Okay. Most of you did. So here's what we're going to do. Pencils down.
Pencils down.
Our tools are not in our hands right now because we're done building and using them to help us with our math. You're going to help me now do some more on our chart together. All right, so I'm waiting for everyone to hands off, eyes up here, pencils down. Let me see your eyes. Okay, guys, so who built an array that they would like to share with us? Who built an array that they would like to share with us? Okay, what did you build?
So we
Chase.
did 4 rows and 4 columns.
Okay, so he did 4 rows and he did 4 columns. So if we were going to fill that in, 4 rows, 4 columns, all right? So that would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right?
Yep.
4 rows, 4 columns. If I filled all of this in,
That equals 16.
we would come across 4 rows, 4 columns, and right here would be my product of 16. So take your pencil and write 16 in where you see 4 rows and 4 columns coming together. Let's see if we can do that. If you can't do it, just looking at it, use your blocks. Fill it in. Put your blocks, 4 rows, 4 columns, and then you can lift up that last block like we were doing when I walked around, and you can fill in the 16.
Good job, Holly. Yep, so great work with your partner too.
Well, we're gonna fill in the whole thing.
I know, I'm sorry, buddy. All right, 4 rows and 4 columns, so you guys, tell me about total time. Right, so did you do the 4 rows, 4 columns? Show me 16. Where's your product of 16? Quickly for me, do 4 rows, 4 columns, and show me 16. Gotcha, girl. All right, so let's do another one really fast, okay? So 4 rows, 4 columns, 16. What do you have back here?
5 columns and 10 rows, which equals 50.
All right, so she said she did 5 columns and 10 rows. Ooh, that's a lot, right? So if I did, which is the same thing as 10 rows with 5 columns. If I did that, what is my product down here?
50.
How do you know that?
It's also the same as counting by tens 5 times.
Tell me how you know that. How do you know that that was 50?
So you look at the 10 and then you look at 5 and you see it's 10 by
So we know 10 rows times 5 columns equals 50. All right, put your 50 on there.
50. So we're 10 rows, 5 columns. You're putting 50.
Some of you are getting really quick at this.
The product of 10 times 5 is what? Okay.
So let's do a few together that I think will be really easy. If we had 1 row and 1 column and the product is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, what would happen if we had 2 rows and 1 column? What's 2 times 1? 2. Oh. And what if we had 3 rows and 1 column?
3.
Oh. If you don't believe me, you can fill it in. You can put your cubes right on top of it.
Can we share ours?
All right, we're going to put 1 more up there, okay? Because we're going to go to our reflect in just a second. Since you asked, I'm going to let you. It's Deacon, right? All right, Deacon, what's yours?
5 times 3.
All right, so talk to me about rows and columns. He said 5 times 3, so 5.
5 rows and 3 columns.
All right, let's do it with him.
And it equals
5
15.
rows. So I've got 5 rows, 1, 2, 3 columns. 5 times 3 is
15.
15. All right, I keep touching this. All right, so I'm going to be putting on here. Oh, so terrible that. 5 rows, 3 columns, 15. What do you think would happen if we kept doing this?
We would fill up the whole chart. 100.
We would fill up the whole chart. And what did you say?
Till 100.
Where would 100 be?
Because at the very bottom corner.
On the left or the right?
Right.
So she's saying we would eventually reach to 100 at the bottom right.
Because
Can you,
10
no, don't tell us why.
Oh, wait, pause it.
I'm gonna see if
I
somebody
love
can.
it though.
I want
love
you to think for a minute, guys. Pencils down. We're almost there. I want you to see if you can figure out what she means. She said if we filled all the chart out when we got down here, we would be at 100. How would we get to 100 right here? Who can explain to us how she determined that? Okay.
Because on that side, 10's there, and on that side, 10's right
Okay.
there, so if they come together.
So you're calling it 10. You're calling the sides, but what is this really? 10 what?
10 rows.
10 rows and
columns.
10 columns. And you said when they come together, 10 times 10 is 100. I'm touching it's my brace. My
It's
brace.
okay. We all, yeah.
My bracelet's
Yeah.
writing on your board. All right, so isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
How might this table help us with our multiplication? Think for a minute. How might you be able to use this table with your multiplication? Aubrey? You can use your cubes on it. If you're still having a hard time seeing the rows and columns, you could use your cubes on it. Yeah, that's the thing that Mrs. Green and I, or Elkins, I'm seeing Mrs. Green this afternoon. Mrs. Elkins and I talked about. We never used the table to actually build the arrays, so we love that. How else might it help us?
So down at the bottom, you could go 50, 60, 70, 80, 90.
How are you doing that?
Counting by tens.
Hey,
100.
you know what else this reminds me of? Remember the chart that we started off with in our Activate?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Huh. You guys are doing some fantastic thinking. All right, so we're not going to have time to finish this today, but I bet you'll get to finish this later. And you're going to get to see all kinds. We talked about patterns. There's a bunch of patterns you're going to recognize, just like that one that Deacon just pointed out. Just like we started to build here. What did we recognize in this pattern? What's happening?
Counting by one.
Yeah, just getting bigger by one at a time, right? You got it. So here's what I want you to do. We're going to go back to the last page in your practice book pages, or your, not your practice book, your student resource book. And on the back, I think,
Guys, go to where it says reflect.
56.
Yes, reflect 56. Great job. So, on 56,
This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So let's make sure we know what we're doing, okay? You are going to by yourself. This is not with a partner. We're not messing with our tools right now. So if you have your tools, you're not listening. You're not going to know what we're doing. By yourself, you are going to write a multiplication equation to describe each of the arrays, just like we already did. Okay, you are also going to look at the last part, number 5, that says it wants you to read it with me. Describe, can you read it with me? Describe how to write a multiplication equation for a rectangle, which is basically the arrays we just built. All right, so what questions do you have? Some of you have started. I hope you didn't miss some of those directions. All right, so take the next 3 minutes and let's see how we do, okay?
work on your reflect questions by yourself.
How to write a multiplication equation for a rectangle. So how would you write a multiplication equation for a rectangle? guys, on this last one, I've been telling some of your friends that are kind of stuck there looking at it. I know this is big words. Describe how to write a multiplication equation for a rectangle. Think about it like this. If you were going to go home and tell a friend that's not in your class how to write a multiplication equation for a rectangle like this, what would you tell them? Think about how you would say it to them and just write it down.
Okay.
If you finish up, some of you have already started, we'll know you're finished with your pencil down and maybe you're cleaning up your workspace. If you're finished and you want to keep building on to your multiplication table, you'll have like a minute to do that. We're going to let those that are still working work for about a minute. Great work. Good work.
Good job, Audrey.
All right, so if you are not finished, I'm going to ask you to get down that last part of your answer, whether it's a word or a drawing or whatever. Finish that up real quick for us. And we're going to wrap up with one more quick discussion. Guys, when we're looking at our reflect, and we're talking about these rectangles, right? So, eyes up here. Eyes to the front. I love how Eden is watching. Thank you. How can we use the grid, right? Whether it's our array grid, like in our rectangles, or our multiplication table is pretty much a grid. How can we use it to help us write multiplication equations for arrays? How does the grid help us? Okay, I'm going to have to do this one more time because I think some of your brains are a little tired and you need a friend. So at your table, I want you to talk about how can you use the grid to help you write a multiplication equation for your array. How can you talk to your friend, talk to your partner. How can you use the grid, a grid, to write a multiplication problem or solve multiplication problem? Talk to your partner, talk to each other. And you agree? All right, let's bring it back together. I've got some of you that are busting. You cannot wait to tell me. So I'm going to start up here with these two lovely ladies. All right, what did you guys agree on? How does the grid help us write a multiplication equation? You could count the cubes, right? Even if I don't know the multiplication fact, I could count the cubes. That's one way. All right, you guys all agree? What did you say?
I said area.
Tell us more about area, please.
So I don't really know how to explain it that good though.
How do you determine the area if we're using the grid?
You're counting all of them.
So you could count each one again? We
Or-
could.
Or you
Like
could do
count
the way
like
that I
two.
did it, like
1, 2, 3,
So
4.
here he goes again. He's counting down and across. So what is he really counting? Instead of counting each cubes, he's counting the rows and columns. So guys, today we really focused in on how we can use the grids to help us count rows and columns instead of counting each individual cube, right? Yeah, and we're seeing the connection between those arrays and counting and this new operation that we get to do in 3rd grade, which is the operation of multiplication. Yeah, you did a great job. Here's what I want you to do. Look at your partner and tell them good job today.
Good job.
All right, excellent work, guys.
Good job. Good job.